Meeting shall come to order at 7 o'clock. Would you please return to your seats? It's 7 o'clock on June 3rd, 2015. And Councilman Adams will lead us in the invocation, please. Would you rise and join us?
Dear Duplo, look down on this group of caring residents who come together for support of Maple Lakes. May we all leave tonight with a feeling of solidarity and friendship. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Clerk, please call the roll.
Adams.
Here.
Jones. Here. Sabrati.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Brownlee.
Here.
Brzezinski.
Here.
Agee. Here. Albers.
Here. May I have a motion to add resolution number 2015-31 to the agenda this evening?
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Adams. Jones. Yes. Sabrati.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Brownlee.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Agee. Yes.
Thank you. Do we have minutes this evening? May I have a motion to approve the regular council meeting minutes of May 20th, 2015?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Adams.
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Sabrati.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Brownlee.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Agee.
Yes. Thank you. Do we have any communications this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, a request to transfer a C1 and C2 liquor license from ARJM Incorporated, doing business as Quick Deli at 5820 Lee Road South, to George Shamada Incorporated, doing business at Quick Deli at 5820 Lee Road South in the city of Maple Lake.
Thank you. There are no committee reports this evening, so we'll move directly to the department reports with Fire Chief Cavalunas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fire Department calls to date are 2,065. The Cleveland Water Department has completed the installation of the 8-inch temporary water main across the south sidewalk of the Rockside Bridge. We continue to experience water pressure fluctuations in the area as Cleveland Water repairs associated valves. Once the line is fully operational, repairs will begin on the permanent line under the bridge. Hydrant flushing still needs to be completed in that area and has been postponed until the temporary line is in service. At approximately 10 a.m. yesterday, June 2nd, the Maple Lakes Police and Fire Departments, along with Garfield Heights, switched over to the Southeast Emergency Communications Center. I'm sure Chief Popovic will agree the switchover is rather involved as we only take dispatchers fine-tune the equipment and update procedures, and that continues to move on. End of report.
Thank you, Chief. Law Department, Mr. Montello.
Just briefly, I don't usually give reports, but just to give you a rough idea of what we do. Roughly last month, we had we usually handle roughly about 50 cases per week in Garfield Court, misdemeanor cases, as well as we have a mayor's court every other week, which we usually have about 100 cases every other week approximately. So we're handling quite a few criminal cases. We also do a voluntary juvenile diversion program for some of our first-time offender juveniles that they come before us and we try to scare them straight, so to speak, and give them an opportunity to have them sit down with them, see if they need any help, and see if there's any real problems, and guide them in the right direction. On top of that, we also, that doesn't deal with the felonies that the police department handles on a daily basis. That's handled by the county prosecutor, but we oftentimes are getting involved with having to make a ruling or discussing the case with the officers. And we also have to make rulings on some cases that are questionable, whether or not someone should be charged with a misdemeanor or a felony. But other than that, we're preparing legislation, dealing with planning and zoning issues, dealing with day-to-day problems, similar to this one with the bid problem. You never know what a day's going to bring in. And, we do handle most of the complaints with Cheryl and I, and we do. And so, just to give you a rough idea of what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And the Police Department Chief Papalanchik.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the month of May, the Police Department handled 979 calls for service, which brings us to 9,338 for the year. As Chief Campbell said yesterday, the Police Department, Fire Department for Maple Heights switched over to the Southeast Communications Center. As expected, there were some issues, most of which have been resolved as of today. And we continue to move forward, and we'll continue to move forward in the process. Suffice to say that the residents have no concern in terms of their safety, in terms of the police responding to calls, receiving their calls, what bugs that are popping up, we're working them out as they go along with the administrator over the SECC, Mark Lyon. Had the privilege of attending or participating in Councilman Jackson Community Forum last Thursday. I thought it went pretty well. Appreciate everybody who did come out, took the time out of their night to show up. I wasn't going to talk too much about this, but I am, because I received an email. Some of you may be aware, some of you may not. We had a shots fired call in a park in Stafford Park over the weekend on Friday. It involved two groups of juveniles, in essence a drive-by shooting where the people were being shot at, shot back as well. And this caused some concern to the people in the park, of course, as would be expected. And it happened during one of the Friday night softball games. The email that we received was very well written, and it wasn't accusatory at all. It just was requesting that something be done in terms of people gathering in the park, people hanging in the pavilions. I'm not sure how I feel about that in terms of from the department standpoint. It's not the police department's regular practice to just go up and approach people that are gathering in a city park to see what they're doing in a pavilion. If we get calls, and the person who wrote the email actually wrote that in there, that when they did call about problems at the pavilion, the police responded and took care of the issue. I think that we would continue to address these types of calls in that manner. In spite of the fact that this occurred, it's not reflective of what goes on in the park on a regular basis. Some of you who've come to the meetings may remember back in March I addressed a circumstance where we had roughly 7 shots fired calls much like this in a 48-hour period. Relative to that, or as the case would have it, it appears that these shots fired calls we had last weekend are related to these same individuals. Officers last night, the day of the shooting, the officers identified what they believed to be the suspect vehicle, although they couldn't find any evidence to support that. They did find evidence of another crime, and that individual who was involved in the last shootings that we had, a report was generated and charges are pending. To that end, though, last night 2 arrests were made where 2 firearms were recovered. And oddly enough, one of the suspects that was arrested at that time was the same suspect that we arrested in the shootings last time at the Wendy's. So I anticipate that for the time being, while this individual is incarcerated again, that these will stop. It seems to be relative to this one group, although I can't really say that for sure. And we'll just have to see. Just be aware. That we are in the park. We do drive through on a regular basis. No, we don't get out of our cars and approach people in the pavilions on a regular basis unless we're asked to do so. In other words, if you call us and say you have some suspicious activity, that's fine. Otherwise, if people are just sitting in the pavilion at the park, we're not necessarily going to go there and check that out. There has been mention made as far as the softball games themselves. We will continue to provide special attention to the park during those times, just to make sure that there's nothing going on. And the mayor has authorized the hire by, not through the city, because obviously we don't have the money for that, but from the league itself to actually have an auxiliary officer in the park at that time. We anticipate that will address some of the problems, and just understand that we address these things as they come up. And while it's shocking because nobody expects to have shots fired next to them when they're playing a baseball game, it's also something that does happen no matter where you live and no matter where you are. and we address it as best we can when it does, and the officers did a good job in this particular case. I think it probably resulted in this issue. So with that, I will end my report.
Thank you, Chief. Human Services Department, Mrs. Bopat.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank the young people and their parents and coaches from the Saints Football League. They did what they said and came out the Sunday before Memorial Day and did a fine job cleaning up the parade route for the parade to go on. And then, if you were there to see the parade, you saw many of them marching and taking part in that. So we thank them and for their community involvement. This coming Friday, between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock, WZAK 93.1 has a program called Free Lunch Friday. And for this particular Friday, they're going to be at the Mr. Chicken in Maple Heights on Northfield. The first 93 people will get free lunch from WZAK. And anyone else who comes, including those folks, can get out of their car. They have a prize wheel, make a donation of $1 and try to win some prizes from WZAK. And all the funds will go to help the Maple Heights Senior Center stay open and the food pantry. We thank both Mr. Chicken and WZAK. There is an indication that the radio station, along with, I believe it's WECZ, will be doing other fundraising as the summer goes on to assist our efforts. So we thank them very much and hope we'll see you up at Mr. Chicken on Friday between 12 and 2. We have a young girl, Christina Hilliard, who is a resident of Maple Heights and a senior at Bowling Green State University, will start to do an internship and field placement here at the Senior Center for the summer. She has 96 hours to complete. She's a very nice young lady, and we are pleased to be sharing her with the Solon Senior Center. She'll be doing part of her time there and part of the time here, and we do need all the help we can get, so we're very grateful that she'll be joining us. Lastly, on June 15th, Monday, June 15th, the Farmers Market coupons will be available to seniors in the community. If you qualify, you'll be given $50 worth of coupons to be used at open-air markets over the summer. We will be hearing very shortly, and we believe that we will be chosen again to be the site of the farmers market, a mobile farmers market that sets up once a week behind the Senior Center. So we're anticipating that. We will be covering the zip codes of 44125 and 44137. If you live in another zip code, we can direct you to the Senior Center that will have the coupons available to you. Thank you. End of report.
Thank you. Finance Department, Ms. Cole.
Good evening to everyone. There will be a Finance Committee meeting here at the Senior Center on June 15th, 6:30 p.m. to discuss the 2016 tax budget. End of report. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Moving over to the resident citizens' comments. If you'd like to step up to the podium with a comment, we'd like to hear you for 3 minutes. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Thomas Coyle. I live at 15614 Edgewood Avenue. One, I'd like to commend the city. I don't know who did it or how they got it done, but they had street cleaners out. I think it was Monday of this week. They did a good job, except for I think some of the residents wasn't aware of it, and they parked the cars on the streets, which prevented the street cleaners from doing a more professional job. Maybe if there was more of a notice, something, maybe the residents would have parked in the driveways. Right. The other thing I would like to bring up is the parks, as the chief partially put out. I've been driving around the parks, and I noticed the trash is overflowing. I don't know who's responsible for that, but when the wind takes the trash out, blows it out, overstuff the trash can. The other thing with parks is I noticed that parks says that they close at 11 p.m. I'm kind of confused by that because even curfew for juveniles is prior to that. Why is the park sign say closed at 11 p.m.? I think that should be something like from dusk to dawn, the parks are closed. This way you keep people out of the parks, and if people notices suspicious activity going on in parks after dark, they can notify the police to handle it before it becomes a troublesome project. One last question I have for the council concerning the the levy that's coming up. How would it affect the tax for property taxes on a yearly budget? How much of the increase should property owners expect the increase to be if passed? Thank you.
My name is Stephen F. Fastis. I reside at 14115 Kennerdown Avenue. And I'm addressing this to all the candidates. There being, I believe, 6 now to vying the mayor of Cleveland, of Maple Heights. And I want to say this. In saying that there are 6 now, what do these 6 have to offer the city of Maple Heights that will get us out of this befuddlement of financial quagmire that we are in and make this city a better city than it is right now? Which one of those will do that? And the only way to do that is we should have all of them involved in a forum or debate at various places, of which the senior center can be one of them, and let the voters hear them and hear what they have to say and have to offer. And then the voterage, all of them, that is, every one of them who is eligible to vote, should, with no excuse whatsoever, get to the polling place or vote absentee, whatever way you do it, to vote. Your vote is valued. Your vote is valued. Don't think it's not. It is valued. And if you do not vote, your silent vote is a vote in silence, and it is very loud. And I also would like them to also note that the sign advising, and I told you about this particular spot, as you turn off of Dunham Road, there's a sign, I've seen it a long time, that advises, I don't know who's it advising, but the notation on the sign and what it says and to whom it's referred to is inadequate, and really should be a better way of letting people know of what coming from Dunham Road, because that's not allowing you to know what's coming from Dunham Road. It's only I don't know what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to, it just doesn't seem to be functioning as it's intended to function, because it's inadequate information. I don't think there's a better way. There's a better way of taking care of the situation. You can maybe create a crosswalk, or you can put some kind of indication for the traffic coming from Dunham Road to be cautious of people that maybe want to cross in the same way, in the same area. Because there's traffic coming from one end, and there's traffic coming from this end, and there's traffic from that end.
Thank you,
And,
Steve.
thank you.
My name is Tina Peterson. I live at 18408 Waterbury Avenue. I just want to know if maybe somebody can answer a question as to some issues with some landlords in our area that I spoke to my neighbor. I have probably 3-4 feet of his trees and his shrubs that are dead, hanging in my yard. Well, I cut them down and threw them in his yard. He called his landlord. His landlord said, if it doesn't pertain to the house, I'm not doing anything about it. What's hanging over my trees in my yard, it's my roof, hanging over my roof that my husband has to get up and clean. How can we take care of these landlords and make them more responsible for their property? And when you pull up on the Cuyahoga County website, my neighbor that when I first moved in, he's been dead for 5-6 years. The updated website updated May 1st. The home is still in his name. Where's the taxes coming from? Is the landlord paying them? I mean, we can't take care of, take care of his property. Why? I mean, anybody have any ideas as to how we can make these landlords be responsible for their property? Seems that the residents could care less. They come and go as they please. It's just something's got to do with these landlords. And I know, Chief, you had mentioned to me before if I had an issue with some officers. It wasn't personal, but my husband and I, he was driving and the school bus ran a red light at the corner of Warrensville coming toward the boulevard there by the Marathon Station. Got the bus number, called the police. We can't help you. Call the school. I called the transportation board, got the bus number. She goes, please do me a favor. Please call Maple Heights Police for me. I said, I did, ma'am. They told me they can't help me. She goes, you're kidding. She goes, when did you call? I said, maybe 10 minutes ago. She goes, I'll take care of it. So when you have school buses with, you can see in the windows with little ones running red lights, full-blown red lights, wasn't that yellow? And your officers are telling me we can't help you, something's wrong.
May I address that, Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Chief.
An officer can't address a traffic issue unless he witnesses it. In other words, if there's a traffic violation, they have to witness it, they have to be party to it, they can't take a third party, they cannot take a third party report of it.
Well, I just asked him what to do, what can I do? And he goes, well, I can't help you.
And he's right, he can't. What he can do is what he told you to do, which was call the school so they could address it with that driver.
Well, the school's telling me to call you guys.
Well, they're incorrect. We can address a citation, we can cite someone who violates a school bus sign if they have now on a third party. If the bus driver gets the plate and uses that information. Sure. We cannot write a school bus or write anybody a red light citation unless we witness it. So just so you're aware.
That's fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Freddie Jackson, 189 San Lorenzo Avenue, Maple Heights, Ohio. I just wanted to mention the trash. It is a big issue. And I was wondering if maybe we can probably implement a higher fee because people are still putting trash out at a high rate. And maybe if we increase the fine where it hurts them in the pocket, they'll stop doing it. If the garbage man comes on a Thursday, they put it out on a Saturday. Next to my daughter, someone put trash out on a Thursday. They put out Wednesday night. So the trash man came on Thursday, and they came on Thursday. Excuse me, they didn't pick it up, and I believe it's probably because they're in foreclosure. So they probably weren't paying the taxes. So at that point, it didn't get picked up at all. And there was cabinets out there, big sheets of glass, and actually it's still out there. And maybe it needs to hit in the pocket. I don't know if, I believe it goes to on the taxes as well with that bill, but something probably needs to happen, especially with the appraisal coming up for is that next month? July. So we probably need to address that very aggressively. Okay, thanks.
Deborah Hoffman, 5340 Cato Street. Greetings. 5340 Cato Street. Greetings. I would like to thank council and the mayor for working so hard in each of your respective positions. Some of the council came on board at a very difficult time, giving your all and hoping to make a difference. I'm hoping that all of you can put it in your heart to forgive each other and to work together toward a common goal, which is to make this city a wonderful place in which to live and work. As leaders, you are commissioned to lead and set the tone for our city. The two great commandments from our Heavenly Father are to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. That person sitting next to you is your neighbor. We need your example to correct the atmosphere of strife and confusion because it spills over into our city. Citizens who use this platform to continually name call and ridicule any of our elected officials should rethink some of their behaviors. If you're unsure of what love is supposed to look like, I'll come back another time and read you more from the good book. My future vision for a center just doesn't include the elderly, but a place for all people to come. I love our elderly, but we cannot forget about the rest of our citizens, especially our youth. If we have a center that can be utilized by everyone, it can help to unify us and make things better for all residents. Whatever happens, there's no reason to lose hope. We can rebuild from the ashes if need be. On a final note, a scripture that's familiar to most of you, which is taken from 2 Chronicles. Please listen to the words and take them to heart. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Maple Heights is our land. I don't know about you, but I'd like to see it healed. May God bless you as you seek Him.
Moving on to the legislation.
Can I?
Any more time? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you coming. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chestina Williams, and I live at 5101 Thomas Street for 27 years now. As many people in this room, I'm sure, who've been in Maple Heights for quite a time, has seen quite a bit of change. And most of it is not positive, and it's not to point fingers or lay blame at anyone. I know that there's a bit of difficulty that is hitting a lot of our communities, especially smaller cities and smaller communities. And a lot of it is based in financial issues, vacancies in the properties, and also business base and a number of other things. I am not sure what the solution is, but I'm confident and hopeful that all of you who represent this city, really take it to heart to try and figure out how to resolve these issues so that the city continues to prosper and to exist. One of my biggest concerns, though, with the way the city is right now is that I don't find much incentive to stay. And some of the reasons are because the simplest things that I would expect from a community, I don't find them here. I have grandchildren now. My children were small, school-age children when I moved here. Now I have grandchildren. And my grandson cannot go to Stafford Park, which has always been a beautiful park, and play basketball because there are no baskets. He has to go to Cleveland in order to find a basketball court in order for him to play. There's something wrong with that, something seriously wrong with that. And I understand staffing is diminished. I understand that it's quite an endeavor to keep the parks clean. And there are those who don't respect or care about the parks, and they will vandalize and do things that cause more problem. But at the same time, it makes no sense for me to live in a community where there's no rec center, there's no swimming pool, there's no basketball court, and there's really nothing in my community for my 15-year-old grandson. So this is a concern I've had for a while, and I just wanted to express it today, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I just would like to just encourage you all to keep thought and keep this at the forefront. It may not seem as major as some of the other issues that you all have to deal with, but it's very important and it's very significant to myself and others who do have children. Not troublemakers, not gangsters, but children who live in this city and would like to be children and do the things that they should be able to do.